Hello, hello, hello. Welcome this evening to Demote Mitch Monday. We're the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee. We are very excited to be with you tonight on the internet. We've got an exciting show for Demote Mitch Monday. We're going to be talking about what's going on the ground in Georgia, the most important effort right now politically, the best way possible to ensure that Joe Biden does not have every barrier put in front of him that Mitch McConnell could construct to stop his agenda from being implemented. That is by winning, of course, two Senate seats, two key Senate seats. So we are going to hear from somebody on the ground there. We've got the treasurer of the Georgia High School Democrats, Julian Fortuna. We've also got Mitch in the news because there's some very big news and some stories that we've been following for quite a while. And of course, a call to action because, it's about acting here, people. It's not about just listening into folks talking on the internet. So, of course, we're going to start with our introductions, though, hearing from our hosts, find out who are you, where are you, and what does your protest sign say today. So I'm Aaron, coming to you from Chilesburg, a lovely community just to the south end of Lexington. Also, my sign says, "Go Blue Georgia, Warnock your ass off," is what my sign says. Because I think voting is happening right now, even as we speak, which is very exciting. And we got a special guest host tonight, Annabelle. Who are you? Where are you? What's your sign say?
Hey, I'm Annabelle. I'm from Versailles, Kentucky. My sign probably says wear a mask because I'm doing a little Christmas shopping and not enough people are wearing masks, and that is terrifying. So do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's key. Who are these people that have missed that memo? Is that in your county, Annabelle? Is that where you're seeing this?
Fayette, your county.
My county. Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
your county.
Wait a minute. That can't be right. That can't be right.
Mm.
All right. Hey, Kimberly, are you there? Can you join us?
I am right here, and tonight I'm in Shepherdsville, Kentucky, and I've been working boots on the ground trying to get our Democrats riled up to call and donate money to Georgia. So my sign says today, hashtag we are winners. We are winners.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. Awesome. All right. Well, like I said, great show. Let's just get into it, huh, people? So Annabelle, take us away.
Okay, so we are starting with our guest, right out of Georgia, Julian Fortuna. He's the treasurer of the Georgia High School Dems. He founded his local chapter of his high school Dem, so that is very exciting. We'll get started with, why did you become a member of the Georgia High School Democrats?
Yeah. So first off, thank you all for having me. I'd say that the reason that I got involved with High School Democrats was that it was a really kind of accessible platform for me to get more involved with politics and help other kids in my school and community get involved, which was ultimately what I wanted to do. I've been looking for, political outlets, especially as I saw the election getting closer and closer, and Trump and all of the Republicans being just as awful really as they had been for the past couple of years. And I was looking for a way to kind of make an impact. And so High School Democrats was a really kind of accessible and effective way that I thought to get a good platform and kind of an organization that I could start to get other kids involved.
Great. So like kind of bouncing off of that, after high school, what do you plan to do? Do you plan to run for anything, or maybe not?
Yeah, I'm honestly not too sure what, if I'll run for something. I have a lot of interest in law, and specifically like civil rights law. So I kind of want to do something with that. I know that in ways of organizing, a lot of what I'll do honestly will depend on what happens here in the next couple of weeks, depending on whether or not it's more advocacy based or electoral, or what it's going to look like. I know that organizing is always one of those skills that you kind of have in your back pocket after you've done it a few times, that you can kind of apply once you've gained them. And so I intend to keep organizing. And in 2022, Stacey Abrams will be running again for the governorship, and so that's going to be very exciting. So I intend to do some work with that if I can.
Hey, so Julian, we skipped over a really important question. What's your protest sign say tonight, Julian?
I actually might have to agree with Annabelle. I think just wearing a mask is one of those things that if we all did it, we would be in such a better spot as a country. And I don't see enough people. I live in a town that's pretty left leaning, and is pretty, there's lots of people who work at the CDC who live in my town. But even still, you see people not wearing masks, and that's really pretty disheartening. And so I would say I would have to agree with Annabelle on that one. Probably hashtag wear.
All right, do it. Let's do it, people. But we've got a vaccine coming. Why should we care about masks now? Anyway, so a question I really do want to ask you: why did you get into politics? Is there like an issue that motivates you to be engaged more, or is it you just, I love Democrats? A big fan of Nancy Pelosi. You're like, man, I just want to be like Nancy Pelosi. Or what was it that drew you into getting engaged?
Well, it wasn't Nancy Pelosi. It was actually a lot of reading that I basically been doing. I had kind of seen, first off, I had seen what Trump was doing as president. I'd seen what the Republican Party was doing. And this was me back in like 9th grade. So back in, 2016, and I'd seen basically the havoc they were wreaking and the horrible policies they were implementing and the way that they were weaponizing our government to do harm. And that kind of made me want to read more about just politics generally. And so I started reading a lot about basically like political science behind democracy and what kind of, underpins and underlies our system of government. And, specifically things like democratic norms, what characteristics presage, democratic decline in other countries, what we're seeing here, what can be done about those. And that was kind of my, kind of introduction into, I would say, why I have, cared so much about this. And I've kind of, went on a pretty long journey to figure out what exactly I could actually, how I could turn that into something actionable, because they're kind of amorphous problems. But, I think ultimately, one of the things I decided was youth engagement. And that was one of the reasons, again, that I founded a High School Democrats chapter.
That's awesome. Are you in fact a legal voter? Are you going to be able to vote in what, 30 days or something?
Yeah, well, I actually voted yesterday. I voted early, and I was able to vote in the general election where I voted early and in person as well, which is very exciting. And I have my 2 stickers actually saved from both of those elections. So
that's awesome. And then, so you said there's a lot of things Trump was doing that got you fired up. What's your top 3? Like, what issues motivate you to be involved? Top 3 issues.
I think there's a lot of egregious stuff, and there's more stuff, it's just kind of gotten more and more egregious as we go. I think one of the more recent things was his handling of, the most, prescient one is his handling of the election, and his attack on the integrity of our electoral system has been like hands down one of the biggest problems for me. I think that I think it highlights a lot of problems in our political system and in the Republican Party, especially, that he was able to get away with so much for so long. I think that's probably the first issue. Second, I think probably is, I'm not sure exactly how I would phrase it specifically, but his take on race and his, the way that he kind of stokes racial division.
Racism. He's a racist. Is that what you're looking for? Is that the word you're looking for? He is a racist.
Right. Yeah. Racism, and, racism in such a way that, he's kind of weaponized, he's used his underlings like Bill Barr to kind of weaponize, the government. Like I saw this, you saw this with the clearing of, protesters in Lafayette Square in DC. And, a lot of other, really, really kind of outsized, responses to some of these protests, racial justice protests. I think that has been a huge problem for me. And, third along those lines is immigration policy, and his child separation policy, that Jeff Sessions was the one who implemented that, but that I think too has been one of the most egregious.
Also racist. Yeah. The shithole countries, e.g. the ones where the brown people come from. Yeah. He is a racist. So just so we're all clear. Awesome. Thanks, Julian. Hey, Kimberly, do you have a question for Julian?
I'm just so happy to see our young people getting out here, really hitting the pavement, so to speak, to make sure that the right candidates win. And I just basically have a statement for our Georgia rep tonight that I see big and bright things in his future. And when he's ready to run for any office, make sure that he calls me because I will work on his campaign.
And that's not nothing, Julian. She is Kimberly is a electoral badass, just to be super clear. She's very active with Indivisible, lots of other groups in Louisville, and yeah, don't and yeah, she's got everyone's cell phone number too. So like if she's mobilizing people on your behalf, like it's the right people. It's not just, Joe Nobody.
Well, I appreciate that. That's very nice of you.
And most definitely, I just have to put out there that I am a sorority sister of our incoming Vice President, Kamala Harris. I am an AKA. So just so you know.
We're just marking that 12 minutes in. It took us 12 minutes to get to that this episode. That might be a new record. I'm going to need to check the tape and find out for sure, but it's definitely, in case anyone missed it, the pearls are in the house. All right. So, hey, any final thoughts you want to share us with, Julian? Any, any final exhortations to action? Any ideas about how people should be getting involved to help the work that y'all are doing there in Georgia?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think one comment one of the possible things I saw we could talk about was kind of like what I would say to, young, especially young kind of political activists in Kentucky and in other red states. And one of the things that I would just say on that, because I think this is something that's, something that I think about a lot, is the idea that, simply reaching out and getting people involved at a young age has an outsized impact on how they act in the future and what kind of citizens they'll be in a democracy. Getting involved at a young age is, has been shown to basically build better citizens, more participatory, more active, more educated citizens in the civic process for the rest of their lives. And so, not only is it important for young people to get out and actually make their voices heard and to kind of leave their mark electorally on who is making policy decisions for us as we grapple with things like climate change, criminal justice reform, electoral reform. I think it's really an important thing to remember that, even if you don't win every single local race or every statewide race or even every national race, the act of, getting people involved and, catalyzing that engagement amongst people around you, no matter how small or large that group is inherently valuable and is something that I think a lot of, is one of the main reasons why I think youth activism is actually so important. In helping us on the ground, I think that the best thing that we can do is support our organizers and local organizers on the ground. There is a lot of opportunities to phone bank. There's, like Kimberly was talking about earlier, there's a lot of opportunities to donate. There's a lot of ways, to get involved with OSOF. We're not going to, even with Public Service Commission, we have great candidates there too. And, these are all races that are super important. And, the best thing that we can do right now is to, if there are young people who are looking for ways to get involved, picking, phone banking, setting up phone banking events, calling people, saying, hey, let's phone bank. Like, hey, do you know anyone who'd be willing to donate? Like things like that are super, super helpful. And, making sure that, elevating the voices of the organizers that are there doing the work and are, on the ground, turning out voters, especially voters of color, AAPI voters, like those are the people, that are doing the work. And those are the people that I think are super good to support.
Okay, great. We'll kind of start wrapping this up. So one final question. The Georgia High School Dem specifically, like what are y'all up to? Like lit drops, voter registration, just like what are you guys doing?
Yeah, for sure. So we've been doing a few things. We've been holding, recently we had a phone bank / like forum event with Andrew Yang that we held, and we talked to him, and we had kids come in and we prepared some questions for him. And then we also had, we're doing, I believe, weekly phone banks for different, with different like caucuses or state chapters for high school Democrats in an effort to, get people to phone bank. And then we've also been, one thing that I've been pushing for is to promote a lot of initiatives that are technically outside of the high school Democrats, but have been founded by like local chapters, for example, and have been pushing for the state organization and national organization to kind of up those and promote those. And so like, for example, we have like a youth fellowship that that I was, part of, one of the organizers for, that was really successful, partly because so many out-of-state people, signed up for it. We got a lot of out-of-state volunteers sign up to do virtual work, volunteer recruitment calls, things like that. So it's exciting. We have a lot of stuff going on, and we're trying to, just get trying to reach as many people as we can, and escalate people who are already involved to, do a little bit more.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We really enjoyed having another young person on the show tonight. Always good.
Thank y'all for having me.
Awesome. All right. So we are going to mosey on to our next segment, bidding Julian adieu, and going into Mitch in the news, because as you know, Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, is in the news every week, and it's not often good news. So this week, though, I think we're going to have Annabelle starting us off with big news. Huge.
Yeah, so something finally happened with the stimulus. Mitch announced like a $900 billion deal on an emergency relief package. Very exciting. Better late than never. $600 checks and unemployment benefits of up to $300 per week. An article in the Washington Post says it was unclear why congressional leadership trimmed the duration of unemployment benefits in their latest agreement relative to the bipartisan lawmakers plan. $1.4 billion in new funding for Trump's border wall, tax break-in deal was a corporate meal expenses. McConnell didn't get legal immunity for irresponsible corporations, and there is no aid to the states. So what this big bill includes is stimulus checks, jobless aid, PPP, small business loans, among relief set to be passed by Congress. And of course, Mitch lies about what he's been doing for the stimulus. This is a quote from the KDP. As Congress is set to finally approve additional COVID-19 relief legislation, it is clear that U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell plans to continue misinforming the public and taking credit for things he never did. Nothing new there. He tends to do that. Mitch may be up to his usual blame game, but in reality, he's been holding up relief legislation since May, when the U.S. House of Representatives passed the second round of relief legislation. Mitch took the Senate floor yesterday to claim that Senate Republicans were advocating for a package just like this one all along in real time. That's a lie. We all know that's a lie. That's just no. I think we might have a short video now.
If you're looking for a theme, I won't put a bill on the floor that doesn't have liability protection in it.
Yeah, he's just really good at stalling. In August, he stalled again over talks about a relief bill, and then again in September, October, and November for the same reasons. Even as recently as last week, he was holding up further relief because his donors told him to. Seems about right, just listening to his big donors again. In a statement, the KDP spokesperson Marissa McNee said there's one person to blame for Kentuckians struggling during this pandemic, and that is Mitch McConnell. For months, Democrats have been pushing to keep Kentuckians and all Americans put food on the table through direct relief payments and enhanced unemployment benefits, and pushing to include the direct relief of businesses most hurt by this pandemic. Mitch McConnell has been the sole obstacle for those efforts, and now he's lying about it. It's as pathetic as it is predictable. He just continues to lie over and over again.
And it's I think especially outrageous because him taking credit, saying, no, this is the deal that Republicans have wanted all along, will mean that anyone who hears him and is not getting the kind of independent fact check is going to think that, oh yeah, that unemployment, the federal benefit for unemployment that they have extended now for another, I think, 11 weeks, although people wanted, Democrats wanted 16 weeks, I believe. But those additional, I think, $300 a week, that means a lot, right? That means the difference between people being able to stay in their homes, being able to keep their life moving forward, or not. And that's what is going to matter to people. And that's not what Mitch's party wanted. And the fact that there's going to be an actual, $600 person check, so $2,400 for a family of four, that, well, it certainly doesn't make up for the months and months and months and months of no aid because Mitch wouldn't come to the table and actually strike a deal. The fact that he's there saying this was their package, it's just, it's him taking credit for the work he didn't do. The only reason that there's a direct payment in this bill is because the Progressive Caucus in the House of Representatives demanded it and said they would be blocking things if they did not get that, right? So meanwhile, you have like the Republicans blocking things if they didn't get their corporate liability relief or protection. You also had people like Ron Johnson, Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania, the senator from Pennsylvania, saying that he would hold up aid unless they cut the Treasury's ability or the Fed's ability to do loans. The exact thing that was being utilized by this current White House to help people out. They wanted to close the door behind Trump as he left so that Joe Biden wouldn't have that tool at his disposal. Again, just outrageous garbage, not standing up for the real people of this country, just standing up for corporations. And they seem to get away with it again and again and again. So if you hear anyone buying Mitch's garbage and giving him credit for that, which he did not do, we need to call him out on it. We need to call him out on social media. We need to go to his Twitter page, his Facebook page, and just let him know that you're onto him. And this is absolute garbage. So that's my take on this. Although, I'm glad that they finally cut a deal. It was months late, and it's not, up to the task, but it's certainly something. And I'm glad they finally got something done. That's for sure. Kimberly, any thoughts on this story?
I just want to know why didn't the states get any money? Most states are running towards bankruptcy, and that would have been important so that each state can implement some of their stimulus as well. So do you think that's going to come about when Biden-Harris comes in? I hope so.
Well, I mean, I think they want to, right? I think the state aid is certainly something that Biden and Harris support. It's something the Democrats generally supported. And it was one of, Mitch's two bright lines, right? He had two things that he was all about, which was no aid to states and liability relief for irresponsible corporations. So, he got one of his two, basically, right? And I will certainly expect to see a redoubled effort to get something through. But again, Georgia. The only way Biden is able to get anything different really is there'll be certainly more political leverage on his side if because the House, but again it's going to be a smaller margin. The House will be in Democratic control, but if the Senate is not in Democratic control, he's going to have to deal with Mitch McConnell, and Mitch, again, points for consistency, hates the idea of direct payments to states, right?
Exactly.
All right, that's a big story. Really exciting. Thanks everyone who put calls into Mitch, everyone who signed the petition to Mitch, everyone who shared and posted social media, holding him accountable. It's that stuff all matters. It all adds up, and we appreciate all of it. So, but we have another story. This is interesting. We're actually taking a bit of a departure, and it's not going to be a Mitch in the news story. But at a certain point, you got to be, you're so outraged you can't ignore our other senator forever. Kimberly, what you got?
Well, first of all, I would like for our people, if there are a couple of kids, coming through. Put your kids in the room because I have a song right now. I have a song, and I don't think it is appropriate for children.
Oh, get rid of the kids. Don't bring the kids into the room. Get the kids out of the room. I was about to call my daughters in to hear the song. All right, get out, girls. Turn around. Right around.
Get out. Exactly. Put an earplug in, earmuffs, whatever. But I've got a song that I've made up especially for this story. Is everybody ready? All right. Rand Paul is a POS and Mitch is a bitch. Rand Paul is a POS and Mitch is a bitch. Rand Paul is a POS and Mitch is a bitch. When Biden and Harris get in, they're all gonna be ditched. All right, that was my song for today.
Woo! All right, thank you so much. I was not expecting a song. Thank you so much, Kimberly. We might not have your video tonight, but you're making up for it with the audio. Very impressive.
Well, when I'm on the road, my mind is just churning and thinking all the time. But I do want to say that the Mitch in the News tonight, which is really Rand Paul, the POS tonight, he wins the award. And he reminds us that this week, all of us have to agree that Mitch is not the only horrible Kentucky senator. Rand Paul accidentally, maybe it was accidental, I think everything is by design, but he blurted out why Republicans don't like increased voter turnout. The fraud happened, Paul insisted during a Senate hearing on Wednesday. The election in many ways was stolen. And according to Apple News, it's stating in there, all he said basically was dead people were counted, people that weren't even U.S. citizens were counted, blah, 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 blah. The old rhetoric. He's so far up Trump's tail. I was going to say the other word, but the kids may have come in now. Up his tail that it is embarrassing to all of us, especially Kentuckians. How in the world did we get these two senators? God must be very upset with us. But I will say that this was blurted out on Wednesday. And then, however, on Thursday, he went on Fox Business News and he talked to that chick, she's not in my repertoire, Maria, whatever her name is, who's also a Trump sympathizer and buys into everything that Rand Paul was saying. And also she stated that she had intel to let her know that the election was stolen. So that just buys into everything. Everybody needs to let it alone. Even Mitch McConnell has left that particular part of it alone. He knows it's a losing fight. So Mitch McConnell, of course, is on to his more devious plans of how he's going to obstruct everything when Biden-Harris comes in, which is true, Aaron, what you said about Georgia needs to win. They have to do this for us in order for us to regain our democracy proper. So also I would like to say that Rand Paul, his fact-free claims of voter fraud in the 2020 election, in his examples, once again, he said that dead people voted multiple times, non-citizens voted. Paul did not follow up with any evidence. And being so-called a doctor who deals with actual facts, it would seem to me that he would have some. But as we well know, there are no facts to back that up. So once again, there's no evidence of significant fraud in the 2020 election. And always the reality is Paul spoke his honest opinion about the real attempt at voter fraud in the 2020 election, voter suppression, the number one way that Republicans continue to elect Republicans. And I believe that we have a video clip pertaining to all of this.
Yes, I'm very, very concerned that if you solicit votes from typically non-voters, that you will affect and change the outcome. So I'm very worried that Democrats will control all three branches of government and they really, truly will transform America, but not for the better.
Wow, that is extraordinary. If there is not policing in place in Georgia, I don't know what to say.
So that is our proof right there that Rand Paul is definitely a POS. Back to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you for not spelling out POS. Even though the girls were out of the room, we are trying to run a family show here.
Yeah, we are. Oh, I'm so sorry. When you're talking about Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell, it is so hard to keep it family friendly.
Yeah, it's hard to keep it civil when they are outrageously willing to degrade our democracy for their own personal political power. It's hard to stay reasonable in those types of conversations. All right, so I did like the points that you made there, just fact-free. Let's give folks some facts. Facts are, this is a very tight Georgia Senate race. We all need to pitch in however we can. We had our guest earlier, Julian, who encouraged us to do lots of different things to help out. We've got one specific request for our call to action. It is to do a little intergenerational activism. So support the high school Democrats from around the Southeast this Wednesday. So tonight is Monday, if you're watching this live. But on Wednesday, they're going to be making phone calls to voters. You can sign up. There's a link that we're showing you. It's a bit.ly link, GA, capital G, capital A, phone banks to sign up and join the effort. They are more than willing, I think, Annabelle, are you more than willing to have older Democrats join the younger Democrats in helping to elect, and get voters out of all ages? Because we're not, you're not targeting just high school voters, because that would be silly, because there's not that many high school voters, right? You're any voters, right?
Oh yeah, we will take anyone we can get to help make calls, and they're just going out to any voters in Georgia. So join us. We really need people.
Yeah, the more the merrier, right? And get inspired by that youth activism, right? Just when you think it's hopeless and the only people who care are, old, infirm folks like me. No, the youth are there. The youth are there. They're at the barricades. They're looking to change things and remake our democracy in a more healthy and useful fashion. So join them. Lots of fun time. Like, who doesn't like a phone bank? And as much as this is an issue that you feel like the world is watching, there are a lot of voters who do not pay attention. And sure, those who are politically engaged get that Georgia is really important, but we all know is that not that many people are politically engaged. Everyone knows there's a big election in November. What the heck is this January thing coming around for, right? You gotta clue people in that this election is happening. So please do make the phone calls. If you can't make phone calls, you can at least make a contribution. It doesn't have to be enormous. Give these campaigns some resources. Give the New Georgia Project some resources. Give Fair Fight Action resources. Black Voters Matter. Give these folks resources, because these are the folks who've been playing the long game and have made Georgia a purple state. But you can donate directly to Warnock and Ossoff and the great I think Blackman, who's running for Public Service Commission, which is also very, very important. All right, that I think is call to action. So let's do it. Let's get active, people. Let us make some phone calls on Wednesday with Annabelle, or find other ways to get involved with this Senate race. The time is ticking. It is rapidly approaching, and January 5th will be here before you know it. It is a sprint right now, and we all need to be doing everything we can to help out. All right, so yes, mostly our show. Kimberly, I think you're going to close us out tonight. Is that correct?
Yes, I am, and I even have it memorized because that's what we do. Well, I just want to know if everybody's getting our newsletter, and if you aren't, you are missing out. It is all the pertinent, up-to-date information for you. Everything that we're talking about, it's just in that newsletter. So if you're not getting the newsletter, shoot us a DM, that's a direct message, on Facebook and Twitter, and we'll add you to our email list. Make sure all your family members and your friends that dislike Mitch McConnell just as much as we do for the efforts of his non-efforts of a senator, that they're getting the newsletter as well. So make sure that you DM us on Facebook or Twitter, and we'll make sure to get that newsletter out to you. The second thing is, I just want to say every week, I have to brag on Ken at Couchfire Media for producing this show. He is the bomb.com. He is like amazing. And you can see other work from him at couchfiremedia.com. And once again, that's couchfiremedia.com. And then also our wonderful Nate. We really miss him. But, you know, the theme song that you hear, and you can find more music from him at natosongs.com. And I'm going to be talking to Nate to see if maybe we could do a song together. If you all think that I have the voice for it, you know, maybe we can do Rand Paul is POS, Mitch is a song. That would be wonderful and great for when the kids are not around. And as always, we can always do more with your support. Any amount helps us to keep going and helps give a voice to Kentucky's growing progressive moment and movement. Help us hold Mitch McConnell accountable and end his power. This regime of power for 36 years has been horrible. Who has it helped? I just want to know one person it's helped. If you know one person that Mitch McConnell has honestly helped in his reign of terror and lies and betrayal, please message us here at the Mitch McConnell, Demote Mitch, and let us know. Also, you can click on the Act Blue link and make a contribution. And we will thank you so much for that. It keeps us going, it keeps democracy alive, and it keeps Kentuckians at the forefront of information and voter information so that we can be better informed voters. So we appreciate you guys. And I will definitely be back in my little studio in my house next week. And thank you to Julian with the Georgia High School. I mean, I cannot believe that guy's in high school. You all are going to have to show me some proof that he's actually in high school because he is so wisdom wise. And thank you, Aaron, Ken, Annabelle. Love you, girl. And love you to our listeners and our viewers. And we'll see you next week.
Have a great night, everyone.